The man himself was born at Roxburgh, Manchester, on July 4, 1893. He was an athlete, excellent scholar, and was a soldier of the First World War. In September 1938, he founded the People's National Party and was elected president until 1969, 31 years later. He's also one of 4 children in the family, 2 sisters Vera Muriel and 1 brother Roy, who died in the First World War. When Norman was 6, his father died, leaving his family with limited money and resources. Norman died on September 2, 1969, and his spouse was Edna Manley. His parents are Margaret Shearer, T.A.S. Manley. His children are Michael Manley and Douglas Manley. Now Norman has his own airport, which is the most popular international airport in Jamaica. George William Gordon. George William Gordon was born close to Mavis Bank in 1820 from his parents, Joseph Gordon, a planter and a slave woman. His father has noticed that his son was a special person and from an early age decided to take an interest in his education. George went to live with his godfather, James Daly, at the Black River and there succeeded in his education. Gordon was mostly self-educated and didn't go to public schools as he learned from books, etc. Gordon made sure the people to protest against and didn't take on the oppressive and unjust environment under which they were forced to live. George was arrested and charged for complicity in Morant Bay Rebellion in 1865. He was illegally tried by court-martial and in the lack of evidence he was convicted and sentenced to death. Sadly, he was executed on October 23, 1865 and was recognized as a Jamaican national hero.
Paul Bogle was born in 1822 and is on the $2 bill and 10-cent coin. Paul Bogle led the large-scale armed Jamaican rebellion for voting rights and an end to illegal discrimination and economic operations against awful. Bogle's mother died and he had to live with his American Jamaicans. Because of his efforts, Paul Bogle was recognized as a national hero in Jamaica in 1960. Sir Alexander Bustamante. Sir Alexander Bustamante was Jamaica's first Prime Minister between 1934 and 1938. Bustamante did not hesitate to expose these extremely bad social and economic conditions in the numerous letters he wrote to the Daily Gleaner.
Samuel Sharpe was the main instigator of the 1831 slave rebellion, which began on the Kensington estate in St. James and which was largely instrumental in bringing about the abolition of slavery. Samuel Sharpe, also called Daddy Sharpe, was a deacon at the Birchall Baptist Church in Montego Bay. He spent most of his time traveling to different estates in St. James, educating the slaves about Christianity and of freedom. Sharpe had formed a secret society among the slaves, and many of his meetings were held at night. In 1831, he led the Christmas Rebellion, which started at Kensington Estate in St. James, and then spread throughout the western end of the island, and he is on the $50 bill.
The Nanny of the Maroons was a great national hero of the beginning of the 18th century. She has accomplished great things. Nanny was known by the British settlers and Maroons only. They knew her as a successful military leader. The time she was the most important especially was when there was a big war in 1720 to 1739. The British settlers were fighting the Maroons in this time zone. In documents, Nanny was described as a little weary woman with bold, piercing eyes. She is the only national hero who was a woman. She is also on the $500 Jamaican bill. There is a town called Nanny Town, and it is in Portland. Nanny was one of the other great heroes. We all hope she will be remembered in coming years. Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey was the first Jamaican hero. He is a legend. He was born in St. Anne on August 18, 1887. During his career, he would go to different countries to see how poor black people were living. He worked at the UNIA, an international organization. It worked in helping blacks with encouraged self-organization for black people worldwide. The organization was also encouraged self-help economic projects, and they made protests against racial discrimination. Marcus Garvey taught in Race Pride the need for black equality, self-reliance, and the need of black people to be organized and for rulers to govern on the behalf of working classes. He is still remembered today and hope to be known forever in Jamaica's history.